Hi everyone, I'm Madelyn Ivy, and I am back to share with you all my thoughts about our Bible story. Well, the story of Jesus bringing his friend Lazarus back to life is perhaps one of the most well-known miracles that Jesus ever performed. Now, while Lazarus is not the only person that Jesus brought back to life, Lazarus is usually the most well-known person who ever rose from the dead, second, of course, to Jesus himself. But in order to understand just how important and meaningful what Jesus did for Lazarus, as well as for his sisters, Mary and Martha, we have to go back in time and learn what life was like in Jesus' time, and especially what life was like for women like Mary and Martha. Now, in Jesus' time, women were very much dependent upon their fathers, their brothers, their husbands, or their sons for protection and for getting everything that they needed. Things like shelter and food and clothes and all of those, bare essentials. In Jesus' time, it was very difficult and even a bit dangerous and certainly uncertain for a woman who basically did not have a man to take care of her. This is because in Jesus' time, there were very few opportunities for women to basically take care of themselves. They had a hard time getting things like jobs and money, and it was just really, really hard for them to live without a male family member to look after them. So for women like Mary and Martha, to lose their brother, to lose what was probably the only male family member that they had, considering that the Bible doesn't mention them having any husbands or any sons or any other brothers. And since their father isn't mentioned, it means that their father had probably already died by this point. Basically, it means that Mary and Martha lost the only male family member they had. And it means that without Lazarus, well, they would have a very scary and tough life ahead of them. Now, interestingly, God's Word, the Bible, tells us that when Jesus heard from a messenger about how sick Lazarus was, literally sick enough to die, Jesus didn't go right away to the town of Bethany where Lazarus and Mary and Martha lived. Instead, Jesus waited for 2 more days, and then he came to the town of Bethany. Now, something to know, the town of Bethany was a day's journey away from where Jesus was at the time the messenger came to him. So it would have taken the messenger basically a full day in order to get to Jesus. And then, even if Jesus had left right away, it would have taken him another full day for him to travel to Bethany. So then you take the 2 days that Jesus waited, and for those of you who've been practicing your math, 2 plus 2 equals 4. So it would have still taken at least 2 days for Jesus to get to Bethany if he hadn't waited. But since he did wait, it had now been 4 days since Lazarus had died. So that's why the Bible tells us that when Jesus got to Bethany, it had been 4 days since Lazarus had died. Now, because it took quite a bit of time in order to travel to Bethany on foot because, they didn't have cars or buses or planes back then. And the Bible doesn't mention them having like horses or donkeys to ride on. So they would have had to go by foot. So because it would have taken them, at least 2 days to get to Bethany, in all likelihood, Lazarus probably died on the same day that the messenger was sent to go and get Jesus. So even if Jesus hadn't waited, in all likelihood, Lazarus may have died before Jesus could have even gotten to Bethany. But either way, regardless of whether or not Lazarus had only been dead 2 days versus 4 days when Jesus finally arrived in Bethany, Mary and Martha both thought that if only Jesus had been there, Lazarus would not have died. Now, Mary and Martha were certainly very sad about the loss of their brother. They might have been angry that Jesus had taken so long to get to Bethany, and they were probably very scared and worried about what would happen next to them. Remember, with Lazarus gone, Mary and Martha had no more male family members to look after them, who could protect them and care for them. Again, at least no others that are actually mentioned in the Bible. So, with Lazarus dead, Mary and Martha's present was now pretty awful, and their future didn't look so good as well. But then, when Jesus comes, he sees Mary and Martha's crying. And he sees the crying of all the other people who had come to comfort Mary and Martha. And Jesus feels their sadness. And then Jesus cries himself. It's interesting. Some Bibles translate this description of Jesus crying as very simply, Jesus wept. This is John chapter 11, verse 35. And this version of that Bible verse is in fact the shortest Bible verse in the entire Bible. So if you ever want to memorize a Bible verse, you can memorize that one. Jesus wept. But anyway, Jesus, though, doesn't just understand Mary and Martha's feelings. Jesus also hears their faith in him. After all, Mary had told Jesus that she believed that God would give Jesus whatever Jesus asked for, and that Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah, the Son of God, whom God had sent into the world. Both Mary and Martha agree that Jesus could heal their brother. They both said so when they said, Lord, if only you had been here, our brother would not have died. That shows that they do believe in what Jesus can do. And so even through their sadness and their anger and their fear, Mary and Martha still believed in Jesus. And they still believed in Jesus' power. And then Jesus responded to them with love and compassion. Jesus showed them the glory of God by bringing their dead brother back to life. And not just, sick and weak as Lazarus had been when he died, but Jesus bringing Lazarus back pretty much good as new, almost as if he hadn't died at all. So Mary and Martha had beforehand had their only real protector and provider taken from them. And now because of Jesus, they had him back. Jesus gave not only Mary and Martha their brother back, but he also gave them just great joy in the moment. I mean, how amazing and happy they must have been to see their brother alive again when they had been so sad about him being gone for the last 4 days. Jesus also gave Mary and Martha confidence in their future, and he gave them hope that they would have a better life from then on out. Jesus showed not only this family, but everyone who was there, that God does indeed have power over death. And Jesus showed them what Paul actually describes in the Bible in the book of Romans chapter 8. In verses 38 and 39, Paul says that nothing can separate us from the love of God. Jesus showed this love to Mary, to Martha, to Lazarus, and to everyone that Jesus met. And he showed them that not even death can separate us from God's great love. Thank you all for joining me today for my story thoughts. I would love to hear about what you think about this Bible story. What was your favorite part? Or what was something that you learned from this story? Feel free to send me your thoughts to my email address. It is MIV, that's MIVY, at stmichael.org. I love to get to hear from you guys and discover more about what you learned from this Bible story and about all of our Bible stories. I hope you all have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.